Hello, my name is Dr. Ronald C. Williams, and I am Associate Professor of Management and Founding Director of the Center for Strategic Entrepreneurship at the Coppin State University in Baltimore, Maryland. And I want to welcome all of you to West Side on the Rise. This is a special edition, Global Entrepreneurship Week edition. And our topic today is the role of faculty in academic entrepreneurship, curiosity-driven commercialization. We have a distinguished panel that is going to help us dig into this topic. Of course, technology transfer and commercialization is really the knowledge transfer, the tech transfer from academic settings into the marketplace. And we're going to talk about that process from an HBCU perspective and hopefully stir the curiosity of our audience, but also provide some very good information. And if you don't know about Global Entrepreneurship Week, that is a week that was designated for the celebration of entrepreneurs way back in 2008. And as recently as just about a week ago, October the 31st, President Biden issued a proclamation declaring November, the whole entire month, as National Entrepreneurship Month. So we have been celebrating all week long. By the time of the release of this webinar, we will have had a pitch competition on campus on Monday. We will have had webinars on access to capital, focusing on CDFIs. We also will have featured our PNC Mobile Bank, which is our financial literacy program on campus, as well as Black Female Founders event on Thursday, and entertainment industry event also on Thursday. So this is really the culmination, the last event of what has been a very vibrant week of activity during Global Entrepreneurship Week. And just to say a couple of words about the Center for Strategic Entrepreneurship before I introduce our panel. We have been officially in existence since 2001. We operate in three pillars: that is economic empowerment, where we do technical startup assistance, and education, where we have a number of programs that go all the way down, even into the primary grades. Also, our advisory board, alumni advisory board, our student programs, and a third pillar, which is focuses on social and community innovation. We have the privilege of occupying the new College of Business building on the campus of Coppin State. We occupy a significant amount of the first floor, the footprint on the first floor of that building. So we encourage you to connect with us and come on by to visit us. So today we're going to focus on the faculty role in academic entrepreneurship. And the reality is that the US government funds over 100 billion in research and development activities every year. That's a lot of investment into research and development, a lot of that coming not only out of federal labs, but also out of universities around the country. And we are going to talk about today the process of transferring that intellectual property that is generated by faculty into the marketplace, and how that happens, particularly when it comes to HBCUs. So today, to help us go through that conversation and through this learning experience, I am privileged to have with me today Mr. James Brinkley, who is the founder of IPGen, which is a platform that we use on our campus. It's a self-guided automation workflow platform, uses state-of-the-art technologies to provide tools, enabling the average person to navigate and complete 100% of the various IP processes, connects users to experts online. It provides end-to-end IP lifecycle management support, management system support. So welcome, Mr. Brinkley.
Thank you for having me, Dr. Williams. I look forward to sharing, what I can to this conversation, and hearing what's going on at Coppin, and then how we can affect change for this academic entrepreneur venture that you're setting out to do.
Thank you, sir. And we also have with us this on this day, Ms. Julia Gould, who is the principal at Fire Consulting, and they focus on measurable transformation, process improvement, program design, and as well as the co-founder of the Idea Place, which incubates raw ideas, focusing on startups. Hello, Ms. Gould.
Hi, Dr. Williams. Thank you for having me. I'm excited for this conversation.
Thank you for joining us. Also, Dr. Daya Oyeleye, who is assistant professor in the Management and Marketing and Public Administration Department in the College of Business at Bowie State University. And he's a certified project manager and Scrum Master. Dale leads complex, effective projects that facilitate people's adoption of technology and organization. I'm very excited about his participation in this conversation because of his footprint in academia, but also in the technology adoption space with our corporate sector. Welcome, Dr. Dale.
Thank you, Dr. Williams. I really appreciate you including me on this panel. Looking forward for the discussion. Thank you.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir. Well, we are all set for a very robust conversation. We have our experts who are ready to address this topic. And because we are focusing on HBCUs in particular, we know that HBCUs typically receive a very disproportionate amount of that $100 billion that is invested in tech transfer every year. In fact, when it comes to technology transfer offices or commercialization offices on our campuses, our policies are sometimes outdated and needed some attention. Our institutions sometimes do not have the staffing in those particular areas. And the cost of standing up these kinds of operations can be a bit daunting. So my first question to Dr. Dale is if you could give us what you see as the general state of academic entrepreneurship in HBCUs.
Thank you. So, for looking from an inside-out approach, I think just I don't want to speak on all the HBCUs. There's about 105 of us. So, what I'm just going to start talking more about what I know from Bowie State and some other network I belong to. We tend not to look from an inside-out approach. In other words, we most of the time bringing what's outside there to HBCU, thinking this is what fits in, not really understanding what is it that we want in HBCU, right? So we talked about that 100 million, a billion tech research and development funds. The question I always try to talk about in-house is why are we not getting bulk of that money, or possibly since a lot of this new technology or a lot of this initiative happens within our community, right? What exactly are we not doing? But we rather take the 200,000, the 300,000, which is better than nothing, than actually trying to hack to the 200 million or 300 million, right? So we're okay. For HBCUs, I would say we are fine with whatever we get, and rather than hack from showing why we need that more, you know.
I can appreciate that. And because we both happen to be in Maryland, and there are 4 HBCUs in Maryland, Bowie, Coppin, University of Maryland, Eastern Shore, and Morgan State University. And we all have a entrepreneurship emphasis of some kind. And this is an area that, as you said, there has been some underinvestment and an area that we have not been able to take advantage of and leverage. We do produce the majority of the STEM graduates in this country, and really have productive programs, productivity per dollar investment, even with NSF. I think it was the United Negro College Fund that did research recently that says that our contribution to economic mobility is 5 times that of even the Ivy Plus universities, that's HBCUs as a whole. So it's obvious that we are productive in this sector. So I think it also makes sense that we would be able to sort of reap the benefits of more benefits from that $100 million that you mentioned. And speaking from your experience, what would help to move the needle? Would it be more training for our faculty, more professional development for our faculty, more conversations or relationships with those maybe in the federal sector who are providing the agencies that are providing the funds? Do you see any solution to maybe a more equitable distribution?
I do. I do see that. I think one of the things we should do collectively, so you have UMES, you have Coppin, you have Morgan, you have BSU. We should have one voice. So when we go to these federal funders, they say like, okay, they're sticking together. The 4 HBCUs instead of Maryland sticking together. We can't break them. So if we give one, we should have one collective voice. I think that's one of the things is like we're not together. We're together, but we're not really together. So and I
Yeah.
think one of the things we need to do is the 4 force, the 4 HBCUs, or most of these HBCUs should come together because, like you said, we do know what our PDIs are, and compared, like you mentioned, to the PWIs, we're doing more with little money. So why can't we demand more? I mean, like, so they know what our work is. And when I said they, we producing more, like you stated. So I think one of the things we should do, or I would recommend, is like, if it's possible for HBCUs to have, partnerships. So this way, when they come to Bowie and Hoffa House 200K, we love it. We want to take it, but we're like, no, we want more. So they won't come back to Coppin and say this is 200K, but we refused it, right? We need to stick together. I think that's one of the things I'm honestly pushing. Like if the HBCUs can stick together, start at a very micro level, like I said, instead of Maryland, 4 of us coming together, then also showing our work in terms of letting them know, like, if you look at the data, if you look at the numbers, the 4 universities are producing more than any other Ivy League or PWIs in the state when it comes to this particular field. So we should demand for more, and so that's one thing I think it is for us to work collaboratively as HBCUs and all having a common goal. The other thing, and I think we'll talk about this more, is we also need to have look for non-traditional funding or access to capital. Right now we're really, really looking at, we're trying to tap into the 100 billion, which is awesome. But can we also look at other avenues within ourselves, whereby so we come together, we put a pocket of money together, and we become our own VCs. You have these 4 schools coming together and saying, this is us.
Yes, I like those recommendations. Collaboration is more power when we work together. And because we have 4, and we'll say more about the 4 in just a few minutes, the fact that we all have our unique strengths and we put those together, I think we will be able to do more. And even I'm getting ready to transition to Mr. Brinkley, to James, because I think that what he offers or is offering can be part of the solution. As I mentioned earlier, it's a heavy lift financially to stand up a commercialization or technology transfer office. Just the attorney's fees alone for filing for protection of your intellectual property requires a great investment. Even if you are making decisions about whether you're going to have a spinoff or whether you're going to set up some sort of a licensing agreement, all of that involves some sort of investment. And so James, give us if you don't mind, a little bit of background about your company and IP Gen and how you may be providing an easier path forward, at least when it comes to the protection of faculty intellectual property.
For sure. So IPGen started to build tools to streamline and automate the various. Well, we started, with thinking about the patent process, and have since started to grow into the other forms of IP. But for purposes of this conversation, the patent process is extremely difficult, and it can be very expensive, as you both already stated. And so when I was starting the company, I wanted to attack it from both sides, from the small guy, from the entrepreneur, all the way to the bigger guys, to the global corporations, the universities, the law firms. And so I set out to build certain tools to streamline and automate these processes. And now that we're starting, to work with Coppin on this venture, we want to be able to set up these offices kind of automatically, kind of on a platform to where you don't need everything physically that you would need before. You don't need all the attorneys that you would need before to pull down that cost to allow you to build, to build these things on campus. And now you can start to transfer and commercialize these things, whether it be, like you said, licensing agreements or spin-off companies. I know the great doctor was saying that, we've been okay with the crumbs that they've been giving us so far. And then when I say us, I'm speaking about HBCUs. I started my journey at Virginia Tech, which is a PWI, but I transferred to Norfolk State University, which is an HBCU, and that's where I graduated from. And so we have to be okay with no longer taking those crumbs and create these processes where they see the value in what we're putting out. Like you said, that we graduate most of the STEM students from the country, and so now you need to see this value that we're producing, and then I believe the money will start to flow in after that more so. But we have to take the steps because they're not going to give it to us. We have to actually take it from them. And so, when you stand up these processes, when you can do this and streamline these things and cut costs, I believe that, these processes will go much better. Just a quick, aside, at Norfolk State University, there's not a huge, tech transfer commercialization offices either. I was told that they have to do partnerships with Old Dominion, which is a PWI. And so now the things that are coming from Norfolk State, the sweat, the blood, the tears, all of that research now has to be shared in revenue with another university, all because they don't have the proper things in place and the proper resources to allow them to do it on their own. So, we're just trying to make that, much better for these universities. And, I think we're the good starting point now using, this venture, these cohorts, this partnership to allow people to see that it can be done, that it will be done. And now you'll be able to realize that revenue and that monetization and really put a spotlight on these HBCUs as, when it comes to research and things of that nature.
All right, thank you. I appreciate that. Just before I transition to Julia, you mentioned, well, I want to sort of bring out 2 points. You talked about your background as an HBCU. You attended HBCU, you attended Norfolk State, and you referenced that situation in particular. And this is a technology solution to what has been historically part of the problem. Part of the problem is the investment, the requirement to stand up a function on your campus that addresses tech transfer, knowledge transfer, commercialization of faculty IP. So this provides, IPGen will provide the capability of doing that and reduce costs. But let people know, and I don't think I probably didn't do an adequate job about this. Let them know about your background. You are an IP attorney. Is that true?
Yes, yes. I'm an IP attorney. I practiced for a number of years in global corporations, law firms of various sizes. My last stint was at IBM, where we were the world leader of patent applications, patents granted for the last 25, 30 years. So I gained a great deal of knowledge, working in those various entities to be able to, take a step back and now be able to be a solution to some of these problems that certain stakeholders have. I was always working, and I had people come up to me and say, I have this idea, I want to do this, and I would have to say, before you go down that road, be prepared to spend a great deal of money, take a great deal of time, and make sure that it's something that you believe will build money for you in the future, because people just hear patents and think it's an easy thing, but it's very difficult, it's very meticulous, and you have to do it the right way. And so that's part of why I did this. Hearing a lot of people come to me, people who look like me, who might not have the resources that other people may have, and them being held out of certain things because they can't go forward with protecting that IP. So now we're giving them a way to knock down some of those walls. Now they can be now they can sit at those tables and be with those people to make things happen in this world. So I'm excited about where we are, where we're going, to be able to do this. And I'm excited about working with you all. I'm along this journey.
All right, so thank you, and we'll say more about the collaboration with Coppin State as we move further into the discussion. I really feel like this is the dream team right here, and I'm glad to be able to transition to Julia, because Julia is a business strategist who has seen the process from multiple perspectives. Not only is she a business strategist who focuses on process improvement, but she also has knowledge of, one of the paths forward when we talk about startups and spinoffs of ICOR. And I also know that Dr. Oyeleye is also a certified ICOR instructor. So Julie, if you could just sort of weave in some of your experience as a process consultant when you think about not only the opportunities for startups and commercialization that you are aware of, and even in your own business experience, but layering that on to what can be generated out of HBCUs that becomes a source of revenue, and not only for the university, but also for the faculty. What do you see in terms of a process improvement, knowing that we operated from a deficit?
Well, so part of my background is I am also a proud HBCU alum. I started, my first internship was in our career placement office at Savannah State, helping them design a database so that they can move from physical business cards that's on someone's desk to an actual system that they can query. And so I've been in the process improvement space for a while. I won't say my age, but I've been here for a while, and I've seen it, as you alluded to, Dr. Williams. I've seen it from multiple facets across corporations and institutions. And I have to share with you, I've seen the latest technology, and that always gets me excited. But I want to share with you two barriers that I encounter very often when it comes to any major process improvement. And that's going to be the mindset of the individual and the culture that is created that allows that individual to utilize or take advantage of that technology. And so when I say mindset, I am talking about the culture that we have that's within us, within HBCUs, that either points us towards the safe path of employment or the risky path of entrepreneurship. That has to change. We need to address that. And I think that we're doing a great job of addressing it through education and awareness. And we're building the entrepreneurial spirit. And I love what I'm seeing at Coppin State with the new programs that we have, because that education piece is very, very critical to shifting the mindset. The other thing that we have to consider with any process improvement is our reward model and our incentive structure. Now, I'll share what was shared with me by someone who I hold very highly. And he said to me, if you want to be a tenured professor, research, 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 publication, 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 get your tenureship, and you're set for life. And I knew what he was trying to do. He was trying to get me to be a professor, and I admire that coaching. However, if we are shifting from a research institution to an entrepreneurial institution, we have to think about the reward model that incentivizes research versus the reward model that incentivizes entrepreneurship. And so no longer is it research for research's sake or research for tenureship. It's more so research for impact, research for how it can benefit the community, research for commercialization, and thinking about ways that we can incentivize that will help us get further along.
I love that, because that provides at least the foundation or beginning of a formula, so to speak, that emphasis on mindset and culture. Because as we address our institutions, we know that it's going to be a learning curve. It's going to be a cultural shift in terms of how faculty think. And that mentoring or coaching advice that you receive, receive the tenure and you're set for life. Dr. Oyeleye and I might have a differing opinion about that, about the being set for life part, but helping our faculty understand that another revenue source or another source of income is available to them that is beyond just their faculty paycheck, even if they are doing consulting as an extension of their expertise. There's still another path towards revenue generation that can not only benefit them, but also benefit the institutions. I think that mindset and introducing our faculty to that concept is tremendously important. I want to pivot back to something Dr. Daya said earlier, and helping our faculty understand the alternative sources of income. Now, Bowie, when you talk about moving toward being an entrepreneurial university, I see a full court press at Bowie, all the way from the president's office throughout the entire institution. Give us a couple of highlights about what's happening there. You guys have the new Entrepreneurship Live and Learn Center, and that. How is that influencing the entrepreneurial spirit on the campus?
So it is. The building is really helping out. The building itself, physically, it's helping out because it's prime, right? It's on the main road. So there's no way you're going to drive by, you're not going to see that building with a big sign. Now, what the building itself stands for also. So I teach, one of the classes I teach is a freshman seminar. And I'm asking the students, class of like 30 students, what's your concentration? Everybody's putting up their hand, entrepreneurship, entrepreneurship, entrepreneurship. I'm like, why entrepreneurship? I want to start my own business. I want to own my own business. I don't want to work for anybody. So I'm thinking, that's interesting. Now we know that if you get your degree in entrepreneurship, doesn't mean you're going to become an entrepreneur. We know that, right? So one of the things the president did started thinking about, since there's a big demand for entrepreneurship concentration or degree, why don't we look at the medium of entrepreneurial mindset development on campus? So, in other words, the skill sets, the features or attributes of having that mindset would help you even if you walk into a 9 to 5. It just makes you more creative in how you work, right? Then also, if you want to skill and become an entrepreneur, it's set. So the president has been pushing for the past 4 years now entrepreneurial mindset campus. So one of the things we're doing is, funny enough, I'm the program coordinator academic for entrepreneurship at Bowie State. So one of the things we're doing is we're trying to establish that every single class, it is biology, chemistry, nursing, visual arts, you want to invite the mindset, entrepreneurial mindset in those classes. Like Ms. Julia mentioned, traditionally HBCU is come to class, get your degree, get a 9 to 5 job, then go help your community. No, we need to start changing that culture and mindset. So we want every student, like if you're an English major, have you thought about having your own poetry, writing books? We want you to start thinking about that and not thinking like, oh. So the vibe on campus right now, and it's really interesting though, because now when you start talking to non traditional business students like English or biology students and telling them how they can take their project and commercialize it, like, oh, I didn't think about that. We want them to start thinking about that. We want to change the culture for them to start thinking about that.
Yeah, I think that, and I wanted to bring that out because I really feel that that's part of the educational and the cultural shift that will have to take place, not only with the faculty, but with the staff, with the administration, to make sure that we are positioning ourselves or thinking about entrepreneurship, even from the first time we step foot on the campus.
Mhm. Mhm.
Yeah. And so pivoting back to James for just a minute, because the process itself for acquiring a patent or protection, I'll just say protection for your intellectual property can be, I guess, a bit daunting for individuals that are not completely aware of it. Then, because when we are in Maryland and because we are state institutions, we are bound by the processes that the University System of Maryland lays out. And so there are steps to this. And we not only have to learn the technical aspects of going through the process and making sure that we check all of the boxes appropriately to position ourselves for success. You know, that's part of it. But tell me how IPGen can specifically make it easier to get through that process. Drill down just a little bit. Don't take us too deep because we're all novices at the intellectual property process. But tell us the steps in the process, whether it be patent, trademark, copyright, whatever the case may be.
So I want to start by saying that you are in the university system of Maryland, and they do have certain processes in place. Um, all processes are made at a certain time, where the value of those processes are the value at that time, and you try to look out to create those processes to make sure that they'll last. Um, Part of this will probably be to create newer processes that will be used to go forward in time, more efficient and effective processes that can help the greater number of people. So I wanted to first start with that. But for now, you do have to, color within the lines, while you're moving. So that's first and foremost. But the IP process, the patent process, you want to start with an idea, think of something, and then once you have that thing, you want to start doing your research. And so that may start with any kind of research, searching. But on IPGen, you're able to do a search that search other, patents, patent applications that are out there. So you can see who else is in the landscape of what you're trying to create and build, as you don't want to go down a rabbit hole. If it's something that's already there, or if you see that it's already there, maybe you have some improvements that are quality enough to still pursue down that process of patent protection. Um, and if not, you can always keep it as a trade secret, and that's too much to go into now, but that's an option as well. But so then from the searching, you then you want to start, drafting your application. Um, IPGen takes you through these steps of drafting the pertinent parts of the patent application, whether it's utility, design, plant, whether you're doing a provisional or a non-provisional application. And we do that with with templates, with automation tools, with videos, because we want to educate the user as well. Because the goal is to not just create one patent application, is to start to think about, and like you said, Julia, to start shifting your thought process and the culture to now build your IP portfolio, which will bring value to your company as you move forward. And so, your first one, it might take you a little more time than the others, but once you get through that first one and you really understand and start to understand the process, and you understand your technology and your idea better than most people. So you already have that you already have that piece. And so now that you're learning the actual IP process, the patent process, and you marry those two things together, you can start, spitting these applications out to build that portfolio. And then, once you draft the application, we also walk you through the forms to submit with the USPTO. And then, once you file, there's a thing called patent prosecution, which happens as they review your application. And that's pretty much a negotiation back and forth between you and the patent office. And so, we walk you through those processes as well, how to respond to those what's called office actions from the examiners at the USPTO. And so we try to take you from the very beginning through to the very end of creating a quality application that can stand up, through time. And so that's what we're doing. And like you said, the other forms of IP as well, we're starting to move towards trademarks and copyrights as well, because not all people at the universities or otherwise will need patent protection. There are some companies, some individuals, entrepreneurs that might be into the arts or that might be into other things that may need, heavy trademark or heavy copyright protection. And so we want to make sure that they're able to move forward as well, just like the people who, who may need that patent protection. And so, we're continuously building our platform now. And we're really excited about, moving into the university space, because this is more of a process within a process, because like you said, there are various stakeholders that need to be a part of this, whether it be a department head, or whether it be a president of university, or however that goes within that university. There are various stakeholders that need to be privy to the process at various points in time within it. So now we have to make sure we streamline those things as well, to not make it a barrier for this process to run smoothly. So that's going to be fun and interesting to build as we work with the universities.
Yeah, that's great, and we need a lot of hand holding to help us through that process. And I know, the first step for us being part of the University System of Maryland is that invention disclosure form that we must fill out with that goes to the system, and that sort of launches us into that whole process of evaluating and examining the idea and the intellectual property to determine its merit, whether they believe that it goes forward or not, even down to if you actually are able to develop this into a commercializable idea, then with the revenue that sharing and all of that comes to play. So it's an education for our faculty. It's a journey. Once, like as you said, once you learn the process or go through it for the first time, then you're better off. But for the subsequent efforts that you have, I do want to mention and our efforts. So IPGen is in partnership with Coppin, and we have just this week launched our first cohort of faculty who are going to be onboarded to the platform, and we'll go through a process that will not only give them professional development experiences about academic entrepreneurship from beginning to end, but will also give them the experience utilizing IPGen as a tool that will help them move toward protecting their IP, which is only one step in the process, but a very important step, and it could be a very costly step. So we are hoping to disrupt the process, bring the cost of pursuing academic entrepreneurship within reach of our institutions and our faculty. And we will also have student cohorts that will go through the same process. So it's a learning journey. It's a learning experience. It's about institutions becoming and faculty becoming or exercising self-determination in a greater way when it comes to them generating revenue. Let me in the time that we have just a few minutes left in our experience, and as we can see, this topic is so broad and so deep that we could do we could do a series on this topic, and perhaps that's what we will do as we produce our content. Our faculty will be engaged in a one-year process, and they will have at least one webinar a month on the topics, but you can look for more to come. But Julia, if you can, utilize your knowledge, and perhaps Dr. Daya can also utilize your knowledge of I-Corps. The Maryland Innovation Extension has been gracious with us, and we're connected to them in their processes. But as one avenue forward when it comes to faculty exploring commercialization of their ideas, how does I-Corps fit in?
So what's great about I-Corps, and what James alluded to in the process, is it starts with an idea. I thought of something, right? You don't know whether or not that something has viability. You don't know who you're going to sell it to. You don't know what price that person is willing to pay for it. And so the beauty of I-Corps, what I enjoy about I-Corps, is it gives you a process to go through the customer discovery phase, which is very important and very crucial before you make any large investment in building and scaling your business. You want to make sure that you have someone that's going to buy what you're selling. And so I-Corps provides you a structure. It provides you, depending on what level you are, it provides you with incentive to go about and understand your customer, understand the problem that you're solving. And at the end of that process, hopefully you've been able to validate that you're solving the right problem and that you have individuals that are willing to pay to have that problem solved. And you can go forward in using or leveraging the various avenues that are available to then commercialize that idea.
And Dr. Dale?
I totally concur. I mean, I was writing down discovery phase, and she said it. Ms. Gillian said it. I could give you that. So I was part of the first set back in 2020 winter when we went through the certification, and it was just amazing going through that process, that discovery phase, and like, oh, it was very practical, realistic, user friendly, and we did that in 3 weeks, and we're like, all right, a lot of us don't really know how to do business, right? Because we're not going through this discovery. So it has that structured way, which is just like Ms. Gillian said, it's needed. And we've been trying. And I think part of that changing that culture is getting the students to know, like, oh, I want to start a business. So have you gone through your discovery phase? They're like, what? So yeah, so ICO brings that in, which I give them kudos for doing that and establishing across a lot of these colleges. It's very practical, realistic, user friendly, and when you're done with it, you're like, okay, do I really have a product to go to market, or I just need to change and pivot? So it's really good.
Yeah, yeah, and processes like that are important for teaching our faculty, particularly across disciplines. Some of them may not have been ever exposed to entrepreneurship or business models. So it's important to give them that kind of information, and that is part of our approach, and it's one of the approaches that I recommend for our institutions is to be very transdisciplinary in our approaches. With our center, Entrepreneurship Center, every research team, every group that we pull together really crosses disciplines. So even on our research team, we have a dance professor. We have that's working, with chemistry professors, that's working with information management people, all on the same research team. We just have to give them a common language by which they can collaborate, and that adds to the innovation that they bring to the table. So we are also incorporating that in our process in terms of building our model. Anybody have, let's go around and one piece of advice you can give to our audience before we wrap and close the session.
I guess I can start it off. One piece of advice. I know this is for Entrepreneurship Week. There'll be a lot of students watching, professors otherwise. I guess my one, big piece of advice is to, take that leap, take the jump. Like Julia said, we have to start changing the narrative, start changing the conversation. It can be stressful, it can be hard, but nothing great comes with ease. So, take that first step, and you never know where it'll take you. So that's what I'll say.
Thank you.
Yeah, what I'll offer, and this is for our HBCUs or anyone that's watching, I want to bring back around something that Dr. Daya said. We have to work together. It truly takes a village to raise a startup. And within a village, we have so many unique skill sets and so many strengths that we can tap into without having to compete with each other. And so as we go forward with this journey or this vision of fostering an entrepreneurial mindset and spirit at our various individual institutions, I implore you to also think collectively so that we can tap into the unique and fullness that is available, the unique creativity and the fullness that is available at our individual institutions, but also collectively as a people.
And I'll go from the faculty point of view, and hoping that we have tons of sponsors and vendors are looking at this. One thing that comes to mind is incentives for faculty to get involved. There have to be incentives. There have to be equity in it. You want me to do research easily. You want me to commercialize it? What's in it for me? So that has to be part of it because that's a motivation. That's it, giving motivation.
Yes, and that gets back to Julia's ideas about reward systems.
Mhm.
Yeah, so we can talk more about all of this, and I want to thank all of our panelists. Dr. Daya, we have to talk at some point about technology transfer. I do know something about perceived value and ease of use, so we can have that conversation at another time. But this has been great. I think it's going to be not only an value add for Global Entrepreneurship Week, but also going to add a lot to our conversation as we become more entrepreneurial as faculty. To the benefit of our institutions and ourselves individually. Thank you so much. And so that brings us to the conclusion of our panel portion. I want to thank our virtual assistant, as always, Ms. Victoria Allen, who is always assisting us in these kind of endeavors. We thank her for her effort. We thank the Maryland Innovation Extension and I-Corps for their partnership. And we'll keep your eyes open and your ears open for more information as we delve deeper into this opportunity of academic entrepreneurship, commercialization of IP, tech transfer, and how it can benefit our institutions and ourselves individually as faculty. Thank you so much, and we will see you for the next installment of West Side on the Rise. Thank you very much.